Hi, hello. This is me. This is my face. Uh, I'm wanting to do something a little bit different for my channel. Typically, you've seen me record like toy reviews or basically toy reviews. Sometimes I do like the news, or I've made one singular list video. I want to do more of those, but it's just hard to find the time because they take a lot of time. Yeah, lately I've been wanting to do a diorama. If you've been watching my channel, which I know many of you haven't, my backgrounds tend to change a lot, and that's mostly because I keep looking at myself and not the camera. My backgrounds tend to change a lot, mostly because I'm never satisfied with the way it looks. I'm always trying to do something that looks a little either more professional or maybe a little bit more fun, something a little bit more me. I'm trying to bring me into the videos I make, and it's been a process. It changes often. I just changed again recently, and while I do enjoy the way it looks currently, something I've always wanted to do is to build a diorama for like a background type of thing, and one of the inspirations behind that is the channel My Damn Toys, who has that really cool brick wall background. And that's something I've always wanted to create is like a brick wall to put my figures in front of to make them look a little bit more dynamic and cool. So I think if this goes according to plan, this video will be a how-to on how to make a diorama, even though I don't know how to. It's going to be me learning how to, so it's a process, but that's pretty much it. This will be the end of my face being on screen. After this, it's pretty much going to go to voiceover. Hopefully I record a voiceover, because I don't plan on talking while I record all this extra stuff I'm going to be doing, just because it's a lot to do. And I'm not fully set up for it today. I'm jumping into this half-assed, and I don't have much of a plan, so we'll see how this goes. I'll see you at the end. Hopefully this looks cool. Bye. Okay, so you guys are going to see a lot of mistakes I make. So I first started to do this with a piece of cardboard, something you would use for like a school project. You would put things on it. It's like a foam trifold. It cost $3. I put it on my fingers so you could see that. This thing, initially it looked like it was going to work out all right, but then towards the end there were a few issues. I'm taking some measurements here so I can kind of see how long I needed to be, because it was pretty tall. And I didn't have a ruler at this time, so I just used the game kind of as like a straight edge, and then I marked it, and then as I went on, I would cut it using the game case again. So I would just cut it in half, and then I ended up with two pieces of the board, and that kind of gave me the inspiration that maybe I should turn this into like an alleyway, and that would kind of look really cool, and you'll see here in a little bit. I eventually give up on that idea, but I get two pieces out of this. Here's me kind of marking every half inch for the bricks to go horizontally. I kind of just skipped ahead. This is what it looks like. I'm kind of adding some like stress marks, some dents, some dings to kind of make the bricks a little less uniform. It looks fine here. I clearly messed up a little bit, so it's not perfect, but this is the end product of me working for about like 2 or 3 hours to cut all the bricks. And then here's kind of like my idea of like, okay, it'll be an alleyway. I'll put the figure in the middle. I'll put maybe something to kind of block the back, kind of make it look dark and dingy. So I looked at this image of alleyway, and it had a window, so I'm like, okay, maybe I'll add in a window. So here's me kind of like cutting this shape out. Clearly I messed up, because I messed up a lot in this process. So I cut out the window, which was pretty easy, and then I took this little strip here and I added some dents to it to kind of add that brick effect, and I glued it in here, and everything was looking fine, just not perfect. it was a good first attempt. My hands like covered in ink because of the pen I was using to do all this. And then I heard you're supposed to cover everything in black, so I just went for it. I didn't know what I was doing. I covered everything in black. You don't see the full process because I'm dumb. And then cut to, I finished painting and it looks fine. It's okay. The window's cut out. I was gonna like get some plastic and like make my own window. It's not horrible. You can see I got lazy towards the end, and there's some issues here and there, but for a first attempt, I don't think it's bad. Then the issues come here. I didn't really think this through. Using cardboard and paint, it would cause the cardboard to kind of bend because of the water, the liquid. When cardboard's met with liquid, it would bend. So I bought these wood panels here, and I thought maybe, okay, I can glue these onto the cardboard and it will get rid of the bend. But then I realized I could just use those wood boards instead, and that would look really like significantly better. So I went out and I got this foam. It's I don't know what it says, high density something foam. It's not what I wanted. I wanted the blue foam, but I could not find it. I bought the wrong thing like 3 times, so eventually I came up with this. I glued it onto the wood, and then I basically flipped it over and just cut along the wood box, and then that gave it pretty much the exact size I needed. Just sliced through a couple times, and that's all I needed to do. It looks fine once I flip it over. It took a couple tries to get this nailed quite right because I was still figuring out how to do it. And then I took a toothpick and I went every ½ inch and I marked it, and then I eventually bought myself a ruler. And so I marked every ½ inch, and then I used the ruler to kind of go all the way across. This is for all my horizontal lines. This takes so freaking long. This takes hours upon hours upon hours. Your hands hurt, your eyes hurt, everything hurts. And then on this one, I did every inch. It's not perfect. If I had taken a little bit more time, I would have made less mistakes. There's a lot of mistakes in this. You could see a lot of them pretty easily. You kind of lose yourself when you're doing this. It all kind of like disappears and blends in. So it's easy to make mistakes, but the end product isn't too bad. I thought, because it's already black, I don't need to create a black wash for everything to go on top of. So I just went ahead and painted on top of it, and it works. I have a more darker brown for like darker areas, and then I went ahead and I got lighter brown. I mixed lighter paint to kind of create highlights in the wall, and it works really, really good, I think. I've got some yellow, some red, some browns. I think mixing it all together, eventually I get to a point where it looks fairly decent. I just lay it on thick and then clean up some areas that needed work. I did that for all 3 boards. This one, I made the darker brown a little too dark, and it was kind of getting hard to see, so I mixed up some gray. You'll see here in a second. There we go. I mixed up some gray to kind of like lift the bottom of this board a little bit so it's easier to see. It kind of blends in with the brown paint, which I don't mind. I think it looks fine. The thing with brick walls is they're never perfect, so here is me. I'm done with all 3 of them. I added some cracks, some cuts, some details, things, imperfections. That's the key here. Brick walls are never perfect, so you want them to have those little imperfections, and that's why mistakes are okay, because these walls never look incredible. So here's me kind of building the alleyway. I thought I have one wall on one side, one wall on the other side, and then the alleyway would end with another wall. It worked at first. I glued these on to make it a little bit more stable, and I still have those on, just in a different position. It worked. I like it, but when I was filming, you could see the gaps, and I didn't want to bring it too close, and also it was too narrow, so I couldn't fit my arms and the camera and the figure all in there, so I gave up on that. You'll see what I turn it into here in a little bit. I wanted to fill up the scene with a lot of trash and like scenery, so I took a strip of black garbage bags and I cut it down the side. These scissors are absolutely horrible, but I cut it down the side, and then I wanted to line up with the bottom half of this so I get it as flat as I can. And then I take a lighter and I basically kind of melt it together as carefully as I can, obviously, but I kind of melt it together. Takes a couple tries, I get through it eventually. I don't want to like burn it or melt it or anything. I don't want it to stink too bad. I just want to light it real quick and then press it together so that it can kind of form a bond, kind of form a seal. It's not the best way to do this. Obviously, there's significantly better ways to recreate this, but this is just the way I thought of in a pinch. I just thought, you know what, this could work really quick. Let me try it real quick. Of course, the one I filmed was the worst one I did. I have like 3 or 4 trash bags. They're all significantly better than this one, and this is just the one that I happened to film. So I guess that's just the look of the draw. So I make sure the bottom gets decent enough. There can be holes in it because it's trash. Trash gets holes in it, you know. And then once it's tight enough, I work on the side. So I'm trying to finish that up real quick. It's starting to, I'm getting real impatient and like embarrassed because it's not working right. So once it's done, I go and I take the scissors and I go up the side so it can at least, it doesn't have to be straight, but it needs to be, the top and bottom layer needs to at least be close to aligning. The scissors make this really difficult, but you know, it's close enough because you'll see at the end, once you finish this, you kind of hide a lot of your imperfections here. So I'm just doing the same thing, but on the side. I want it to create like a bag-like effect. So I just do this really quick. Of course, it's taking forever, and as I'm waiting for this to... waiting for me to get through this, I'm just like, okay, come on, let's move on to the next thing. But you know, that's not how I edited this portion of the video, unfortunately. So we have to stick to this for a little bit too long. And right now I'm just really, I'm really like, God dang it, why can't you edit better? But I'm getting there. I think it's almost done. I think I'm ready to move on. Nope, there was a huge gap. I gotta fix that. One more attempt. Is it done? Is it good enough? Maybe? Yes? There was a cut. Okay, so then once it's bag-like, I take all the scraps that I have left over and I just shove them in there. Why not? It's trash. Put it in the trash bag. I had some foam strips. I just shove it on in there. Fill up the bag. You want it to look full is the key here. You just want to kind of make it look like a trash bag, and trash bags have trash in them, so put trash in your trash bags, and there you go. Eventually, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm finding more strips, just as much as you can fit in there. Don't overfill it, obviously. Then once you get it good, you twist it, and then what I like to do, obviously I could have used like a rubber band or a zip tie or something, but what I decided to do is I take the lighter and I just kind of do the same thing. I melt it a little bit, I burn it a little bit so that it doesn't untwist itself. And this takes a little bit of time. Like I said, I could have made this a little bit better so that we don't spend as much time on it, but you know, just a couple strikes of heat, trying to make sure it just doesn't unravel. That's the goal here. It doesn't have to look perfect. I'm not trying to overdo it. I'm not trying to over melt it. I'm just trying to make it so that it holds its shape, essentially. Always be careful when doing this. If you're like a child watching this, have your parents help you with this. In fact, don't do this specifically. I wouldn't recommend it. And then there you go. It looks like a trash bag. I also wanted some pallets, so I got some toothpicks. I like these toothpicks because they kind of have a weathered look to them. They look already, they're not like perfect toothpicks. They look like old wood, and I like that. So I took them out of the bag. I'm giving myself plenty of time to talk, and I don't need it, apparently. I thought I did when I made the video, but as I'm sitting here talking, I don't need as much time to discuss what I'm doing, apparently. So I'm opening up the toothpicks. These aren't toothpicks, popsicle sticks, that's what they're called. So you can see there, of course it's not in focus, but they look decent. I like their more weathered look. So what I did with these is I cut off the ends so that they were like flat. So there's an example of one of those, and then I go ahead and cut the other side so you can see how I do it. I had a pair of pliers. That was probably the easiest thing to use. I could have used scissors, but I think that might not have been enough. I think these pliers work great. I'm a wonderful filmmaker, as you can see. I always have the thing in shot, in focus. It looks incredible. I'm just incredible at what I do. So I just chop it off. I do this about 70,000 times because apparently you need a ton of these wood bits. So the goal is I want like at least like a dozen shorter ones and then at least 3 slightly longer ones. And the reason you want that is because when you look at a pallet, you have the flat side, that's the shorter side, and then you have the long side that you kind of use to lift up the pallet with like a forklift or whatever you're using to lift up the pallet. So here's me again, wonderful filmmaker. I'm glad you can see everything I'm doing here. I am so smart and so funny. I just love the way I create things. I just make it so that it's easy to see. So I drew those lines so I could see how to cut those out. This was impossible to do. It took a long time to nail. I accidentally cut off, like it broke a lot of times, so I just re-glued it back on. And then once you have 3 of those, you just glue them on to your shorter popsicle sticks, and you can kind of see it's forming the shape that I want it to. It's looking like a pallet, so I just glue on more popsicle sticks all the way down, trying to fill up the space. I don't want them to be too close together because that's not really how pallets look, but you know, as close as I can get. And that looks about right. It's a little wonky. It's not perfect. This was really more difficult to do than I thought it would be. I kind of did this on a whim. I wasn't quite sure how to do it, and I made it work, but it's not perfect, clearly. There's a lot of wonkiness, but that's kind of how pallets look. They look like crap because they're just made out of scrap wood, so they're not made especially well. They're not super duper clean looking, so it kind of works for the aesthetic. I made 2 of them. I was going to make a lot more, but this took a lot more time than I thought it would. You can see all the bits of wood I chopped up. This one was a little bit better than the first attempt because I kind of knew what I was doing a little bit more. So it looks a little bit cleaner, a little bit nicer. It's just hard to do. That's pretty much it. It's hard to like make these things. Again, I'm giving myself plenty of time to talk about this, but I don't need as much time as I thought I did. So this is approaching uncomfortability at this point. Move on, please. Move on to the next thing, please. I would appreciate that if you would move on to the next thing. One shorter than the other. I need to make that a point, I guess. I felt the need to do that. I am so good at what I do. I appreciate everyone who watches these videos because you're doing the Lord's work. So this is kind of what it looks like at the end. I kind of go over what I did. I didn't film me making the concrete, but you know, whatever. I tried to do like a blood splatter effect to kind of make it look a little bit more grimy, and it doesn't really work. I put Hulkling in the trash. These are all like wrestling accessories, the weights, the slammy, some papers, the violin came with Braun Strowman, Darby Allin's skateboard, Undertaker's shovel, the DX helmet. I just grabbed a bunch of random things to kind of fill up the scene, and I like a lot of this stuff. It looks really neat. And then what I would do after that is once we get there, to make things look a little bit more weathered, you can see they're not like clean like they would look. I just took them and I had this old dirty sock. I just put some paint on it and I would just rub the paint onto these things. I didn't want it to look too much, just like a little bit of grime, a little bit of dirtiness to try and make it look a little bit more nasty and old and like stuff that you would throw away. So I had this like hospital bed thing, this gurney thing, whatever they're called. So I just put a little bit of paint on here, rubbed it around with the sock to kind of make it look really just like something you would throw away, something that would be in the garbage alleyway. I had this paintbrush. If I ran out of paint on the sock, I would just add a little bit on to the thing I was painting and then use the sock to kind of wipe it away so that it didn't look too intentional, I guess. And then at the end of this, obviously, it looks a little bit better than it does right there. So I pretty much did that for everything. I don't show you everything I do, but you know, I gave a few examples. I didn't touch the Darby Allin skateboard because that one already looks good. And then here's some pictures I took inside the diorama. This is Cyclops just standing there. I didn't get too creative with the poses here. That's Spider-Man just drinking his morning coffee, upside down, giving you the thumbs up. MODOK doing some evil MODOKing, just in an alleyway. I have a nice light so it can look a little neon, and that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so very much for watching. This was super fun to do. It took a long time, but I'm so happy I did it because this is going to make my videos look absolutely insane. I'm so happy with the end product. It took a lot of trial and tribulation. I did it wrong a lot of times, so you guys, I'm glad I filmed everything so you guys could see my mistakes and then kind of watch as I work through the process and kind of figure out, okay, this doesn't work, but like this works, and then I get better as time goes on. Obviously, it's not perfect. That's kind of key here, especially with what I'm doing. If I was doing something like more clean, obviously I'd have to be a little bit more careful, but since I'm doing like a New York alleyway city street, like just sloppily put together, it's run down, it's beat up, people have gotten in fights here, it's a disgusting alleyway. It's supposed to look dirty and grimy and broken, and like things are not perfect there. The city workers just came into this alleyway and they said, you know what, just throw on a slab of goo, fix the cracks, just who cares about the bricks, it's falling apart, who cares, leave it alone, we got other things to worry about. So that was kind of the idea behind a lot of this, especially since it's my first thing I've ever done. I thought I could get away with a lot of this type of stuff, and I'm glad I did it this way. If I had done anything else, it would have been like so stressful because I would have been so worried about nailing it and getting it right and doing it perfectly, but because I did it this way, it adds to the character, and that's the key here. It adds to what I was trying to create, and I'm really happy with the product. So as time goes on, I still have a lot of my backlog to burn through, but as time goes on, this will eventually become my new backdrop. This will become the thing that replaces the white wall and the sheet and whatever else I was using as my backdrop. This will become it, and eventually I want to create more dioramas for different characters. So like this works for like New York superheroes or maybe wrestlers, but I also want to create like a backstage area for wrestlers, and then like for alien creatures I want to create like a rocky spacey area, and I just want to make more for different types of stuff. But this will be it for now. I'm so happy I did this. I'm so happy. If you are watching this, thank you guys so much for watching. I can't thank you enough. I appreciate every single view I get. So it's just fun. This is why I made this channel. This is stuff I do anyways, so I wanted to film it because it's just fun. So I'm happy I get to do this, and I'm proud of where I've started and where I've come to, and it's just, I don't know how to put it into words. I'm just happy. So thank you guys so much for watching. I know I've said that about 5,000 times now. I will be back with another video, hopefully very soon. Bye.